Hello, good morning, everybody. I'm Kanwar Singh from the Boston area. As I understand, this is the last presentation between you and lunch, so I'll try my best to keep it fun and engaging and hopefully don't bore you with the details here. Great presentations, by the way, and really truly honored to be here to be able to present at my second TAK Offsite. Before I begin, I have to have an official disclaimer. I also serve in the Army National Guard. I'm a signal captain, and so whatever I'm saying here is not in my official capacity, from the U.S. Army or the U.S. government or DoD, National Guard Bureau, Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Now that the disclaimer is out of the way, I can actually get into the fun stuff. So, and can you project my screen, sir, if you don't mind? Oh, no worries. Yep, and folks online can also see it? Outstanding, thank you so much. All right, so at a high level, I think most of you are aware, our GPS navigation system has four main issues. It can be easily jammed, denied, disrupted, and even when it's not being jammed, denied, disrupted, it's fairly inaccurate. I mentioned I'm from Boston, and when I'm driving around Boston, I easily get lost because I don't have good connectivity. And then you also have issues of connectivity in mountains. I was at Mount Washington over 4th of July, family vacation, and I was just so shocked on how bad GPS was. And even with some of the updates that Apple and Google have pushed out to make it better, the signals are just bouncing all over the place. And this is life and death, and I'll share some examples of that. So we know the GPS challenges can cause mission failure in urban areas, mountainous regions, tunnels, undergrounds, but also when GPS jamming and spoofing is happening. And that's when I started working on this problem. 5 years ago, in the middle of the pandemic, I received a phone call from the Pentagon, and they asked me to go build a GPS-independent navigation system. It was a colonel on the other side, and my first question to him was, "Sir, are you asking me or are you telling me?" And he said, "You're a commissioned officer in the US Army, go figure it out, Lieutenant." And I did what any faithful, loyal lieutenant would have done. I said, "Yes, sir, moving, sir." So I ended up collaborating with the Army Research Lab. And so they had built a visual positioning system, and so it was really quite exciting. Low TRL at the time, but I was really energized with some of the underlying research that had happened. So we ended up collaborating with them, and then a few other folks in the Boston area, Draper, MIT, and other folks. And so we started working on that. What was not obvious to me at the time was why we needed the GPS-independent navigation system. So when the Ukraine war kicked off 3 years ago, it was obvious because electronic warfare was happening on a large scale. And then it subsequently became public that when we were in Iraq and Afghanistan, our troops were experiencing GPS jamming. And that's why I had received that call 5 years ago. So we've been seeing things in Ukraine. Recently, when we were at the height of the conflict between Israel and Iran, there was significant jamming and spoofing going on in the Strait of Hormuz there. And then there were shipping companies that collided. You had massive interruption with civilian aircraft, in addition to all the military disruption that was happening. In December last year, there was actually sadly a plane crash that happened. It was an Azerbaijan airline plane that was lost, and then Russia thought it was a drone. With all the jamming going on, there was just massive confusion, all thanks to Russia. And then sadly, they ended up hitting a surface-to-air missile at the aircraft, and it crashed, and 38 people died. This is real world. And this can happen here at home as well. And there's a study from the National Institute of Science and Technology from 5 years ago that estimated what that economic loss will be. $57 billion in economic losses in the first 30 days alone, right here in the United States, when we lose GPS. It's not a question of if, it's a question of when. This is scary stuff. Every single major sector of our economy will be impacted when we lose GPS. Each one of you should be thinking about this and paying attention to that. I'm actually really excited to share. I've written a book about it. It's not about the company or the product, but it's about the problem and why each one of us as Americans should care deeply about this. I was up until 2 in the morning last night. It actually finally got published. So this is the first group I'm actually sharing this book with. This is a QR code. Please reach out. No need to buy. If you need a free copy, reach out and I'll send it to you for free. The reason I've done this is because I feel so passionately about this issue, and I want to talk to anyone and everyone who cares about our economic prosperity and our way of life and our military operations to think deeply about this so we can start doing something about it as opposed to just talking about it, okay? So that's the book, Recalculating Life When GPS Goes Dark. Cool. And so 11 years ago, you may have remembered there was a plane that actually disappeared, MH370. It's still missing. We still have not been able to find debris for this plane. How is it that an aircraft could go missing? And so I've been thinking about GPS-independent navigation since then. And then on a personal note, I had a friend who went missing while hiking in Mexico. Harisimran Singh Khalsa. He had sent out this image before he disappeared. Yet, the search and rescue teams could not find him for 3 days, and when he was found, it was too late. I wish at the time we had built the solution that we have now, which I'll showcase in a second, that allows us to see what's around you and geolocate you based on that. So we fundamentally at SkyLine Nav, believe that the future of movement is not satellites alone. Let's start using camera systems. They're more intelligent, using computer vision. And because these cameras are more ubiquitous, we have them in our pockets, we have them on dash cams, we have them on every single car, truck, drone, aircraft out there. Let's start to leverage them for positioning and navigation. And that brings me to our mission as a company, which is to guide people and machines with precision using computer vision, no GPS, Wi-Fi, or cellular connectivity needed, all happening on the edge. And so how do we do this? We have a simple yet game-changing solution called Pathfinder. The way this works is simply by scanning what's around you, we are automatically detecting different features, matching that with pre-downloaded two-dimensional and three-dimensional data sets and giving you location back. No Wi-Fi, no cellular, no satellite access required. And this functions on land and also in air. And I'm very, very excited to show you some of the demo results, some public and some non-public. I will ask you not to take pictures because I want to be, not go public right now. So please respect that. So why Pathfinder? Well, it works in all terrains. It's also able to leverage and seamlessly switch between cameras and IMU in addition to GPS. It's able to detect when spoofing and jamming are happening, and then it can switch to using camera and IMU. The analogy I like to share is the same way when we make a phone call, we don't really care if the phone call is made over cellular, Wi-Fi, or satellite. It's all seamless, right? When you're inside a building, you have poor cellular connectivity. It probably picks up on Wi-Fi. And when you're outside, you have poor Wi-Fi and cellular, it picks up on satellite, right? That's how seamless this is, and that's what the end users need. It's scalable worldwide, all weather and lighting condition, and it's providing you real-time absolute localization, which, by the way, you cannot get from INS alone. So by combining INS systems, which I'll talk about of some very successful collaboration we've been doing with a lot of different primes, and by bringing in the camera, we can actually give you an end-to-end positioning navigation system the same way you get from GPS. So here's a more technical chart, and it's probably the most dense chart that I'll share in the presentation, but I get a question a lot, well, how is what you're doing different from visual odometry or SLAM or just using inertial navigation systems or GPS? Well, look, they're all great systems, and as I'm talking about in my book, you cannot just have a single replacement for GPS, you have to have a toolbox. And I fundamentally believe that having a camera and IMU system combined with Pathfinder, it gives you the best result in all different terrain types, and it's all complementary in nature. Now, there are other areas, one of the questions I often get is ocean, and well, first off, you cannot take out GPS in the middle of the ocean. You can't just wave a magic wand saying, oh, I'm going to take out GPS in the middle of the Pacific. You have to have these jammers in place. And there's other solutions as well that other companies are working on, and we want to collaborate, things like quantum and magnetic and celestial and things like that. But for 98% of use cases out there, a combined visual camera solution will get the job done. Okay, so why am I here? Well, 4 years ago, we actually started working with AFRL, and I want to give a quick shout out to some of the folks here in this room. I think I see Dave Canestrari, and hello, Dave. And then I think I see Ralph was here earlier. Dave Costello, who's no longer here, Simon Kahn, Eric Blash, and a bunch of other people at Air Force Research Lab and the broader Air Force. I like to joke that we licensed the underlying technology from Army Research Lab. We could not find a way to commercialize this tech in the Army, but the Air Force has been really helpful to us to help get this technology in the hands of our troops. So this is actually a cross-DoD effort. And even though when I wear the uniform, I'm an Army captain, and I personally don't like the Air Force when I wear the uniform, but I love the Air Force when I'm, in my capacity as the CEO of the company, because thanks to the Air Force, we have been rapidly improving the state of our technology and getting this in the hands of people. So our software has been packaged and made available as an application programming interface, an API, and as a software development kit. And so what this allows you to do as engineers, as developers, is take our software and put it on your applications. We actually, as a company, do not want to be competing against our customers. Our customers are platform owners and developers, front-end developers who need the best visual positioning system. And I've seen some presentations around, people are trying to perhaps replicate. I'll promise you, this is not easy what we have done. Well, come work with us, and we'll collaborate. And I want to move at the speed of relevance. As I talk to our colleagues in Europe and in Ukraine, the companies are collaborating very effectively. In fact, they're on a 2 to 3 week cycle. That's what I envision here in the United States, for us to catch up and keep up with Russia and China and other adversaries. And that's going to require not just a whole of government collaboration, but whole of government and industry coming together to solve this fundamental problem. And we are enabling that today through our API and SDK, which I'll showcase in a second. So what's our secret sauce? We have some of the best computer vision models that we have built on our own. These are not just ChatGPT wrappers, by the way. And we've been doing AI before it was cool. But what we have built are these foundational models that allow you to analyze images as they're coming in frame by frame, and then being able to detect what's in them and match them against pre-downloaded satellite datasets. We have algorithms that are able to pick up if there is relevant information in the image, and if there is, fantastic, we give you an absolute lat long. If there isn't, we have the confidence metric that can work directly into your filter of choice, and then you can integrate that with IMU data and visual odometry solution. So it's supposed to work using onboard cameras and IMUs on any platform, ground or air, or even frankly on a ship or boat, especially if it's approaching land. So how is an end user going to work and use our capability? Well, this is where we are in discussions with auto OEMs from around the world. I'll actually have some very exciting announcement to share with an Asian company we've been working with out of Japan, and how we hope to take our capability and make it available to all trucks nationwide and perhaps even around the world. But essentially, you would download our software in addition to the relevant data sets ahead of time. And look, if there aren't too many changes around you, you're probably fine for a year or maybe even 2 years. But we recommend at a minimum, clients update their data sets and the software once a year. And then it takes a few minutes, and then you're good to go. And as you're driving around, you're picking up different terrain features, and we're telling you where you are simply based on that. No Wi-Fi, no cellular, no satellite access needed. I'm going to show you some videos here of us driving around and demonstrating this capability live. So this comes from the greater Boston area, and we've been driving around for hundreds of miles, but this is a snapshot in time from a few weeks ago, us driving 17 miles with no GPS. Simply based on what was coming in from the camera mounted on the car and a small onboard compute system, we could geolocate you. And so regardless of whether you were on the highway, you're in the tunnels, you're in urban areas, suburban areas, whatever, Pathfinder was able to pick up all of that information and in real time tell you where you are. And you can see different colors here. There's purple and red. Purple is when the camera is in action. And then when we cannot give you an absolute latitude or longitude, then we are temporarily relying on the onboard IMU. And these are, by the way, cheap IMUs. These are not expensive IMUs or cameras. Cheap IMUs and cameras that we have been leveraging to showcase the power of visual positioning systems in action. This is ready to go. And so if you're an engineer, you want to bring the best visual positioning system on your car or ATAK, reach out and we will work with you and license you the SDK, and you'll be ready to go very, very quickly as we are demonstrating in this. So this is an accelerated video. The full video is available on YouTube, and you can check it out. All right. The next demo I want to show you is actually a very active collaboration we're doing with one of our customers, BAE Systems. I was in Austin, Texas with them, and you'll notice how even at nighttime, we can actually give you an absolute latitude and longitude. So this is with their electro-optical infrared camera, and so we are collaborating with different DoD partners to get this in the hands of all our soldiers and Marines, so they can also navigate in a GPS-denied environment simply using an onboard camera systems on tanks, Humvees, LMTVs, etc. And so what you're seeing here is, in Austin, Texas, and I'll sort of accelerate this in a bit, is even at nighttime, we could actually give you a location back. This is game-changing, and we're very excited to be, again, partnering with BAE Systems and many other partners and customers to get capabilities like this in the hands of our troops. Now, I want to, we actually, by the way, have an API tool exposed on our website. You can check it out for free, and you can actually visit, I think, 10 different regions around the world, and you can see our Pathfinder technology in action. This is a demo result from Chicago, 46 centimeter. Let me say that again, 46 centimeter level accuracy. I think we actually have a better result in Tokyo. I think we had 17 centimeter level accuracy based on what we are seeing through Pathfinder. All right, so in the interest of time, I want to switch it up to air. And again, I want to also answer a bunch of questions. So, when the Ukraine war kicked off, it was very important for us to take what we had done on the ground and also start leveraging that for air, and that's what we have been doing. And so it's the same principle. You download Pathfinder and the relevant satellite data sets ahead of time, and as you're flying, we're able to take in all that feed and tell you where you are. No GPS, no Wi-Fi, no satellite access required. So let me show you a demo result of us flying drones around the country. And I promise we haven't been breaking any of the laws. I'm a drone pilot myself, so I have to be very, very careful. But you'll notice here, it's the same principle in action. The imagery that is coming in from below the drone, we're able to pick up on that and tell you where you are. And by the way, your search area, we don't even need to know where you are, your starting point, because we're essentially giving you that initial localization as well. As long as you tell us your general vicinity. So as an example, you're like, hey, I think, Kanwar, I'm somewhere in this 50 square kilometer area. Can you tell me where I am? And by the way, these are the tests we have done. On Raspberry Pis and Jetson Nano, you don't have to have extensive amounts of compute. You don't need to have an H100 or an A100 to do this kind of capability. That's the beauty of Pathfinder and how computationally efficient we've made the algorithms. And I would love to work with all the developers here to get this in the hands of not just on the ATAK, but also the ATAK UAS tool and other capabilities that we are building. So anyone who is on the ground or flying drones, they can make this happen. I was on a very exciting exercise last week with the Air Force Special Warfare Command, and we are collaborating with folks like them and others to get this capability out there. All right. But we've also done this not just on land and low-flying drones, and this is where I will ask you not to take pictures because we have not gone public with this. But we've also been flying this on higher flying on aircraft. And you can notice here, this is actually on a Cessna aircraft, us able to take in features that are coming in. So this is actually a flight from Leesburg, Virginia to West Virginia. And simply based on what the camera was seeing, we could geolocate you very, very well. The accuracy on this, pretty much for every frame, was 10 meters or under. 10 meters. And so if China or Russia end up jamming GPS in a future conflict, our troops, and this is what I'm working on very, very hard in collaboration with airlines and aircraft companies to get our capability out there so we don't have the kind of accidents we've been seeing. This is life or death. So this is a sense of urgency, and we have gotten the capability to the point where we can now also fly this and demo this and integrate this at higher flying and faster moving aircraft. All right, cool. So again, I just want to keep moving here. again, seamless integration with all different sensors you may have on a car, drone, aircraft. And then, obviously we're solving this urban canyon challenge, and this is where we are in discussions with many different SDVs, software-defined vehicles, to get our capability out there. The funniest thing I heard, actually, maybe it's not funny, it was kind of sad at the same time, was when the protests were happening in LA, people started calling Waymo cars, and they started putting jammers on them, and Waymo couldn't get the cars back. That's insane. There's already jamming happening at the southern border. This is all public news, folks. And so I think it's very scary, and that's why we are very motivated and committed to get and fix this problem. And by the way, we have done testing with data sets from around the world, and we have proven that Pathfinder works. So if you have a region in mind that is not on this, let me reach out and we can work with you offline. Okay, so case studies, right? So what are we doing? Can't really talk a whole lot about things we're doing on the military side, but we did end up winning NASA Space Challenge, and so we are collaborating with NASA to get our capability on the moon. I get very excited about this, by the way, coming from Boston, and we do have the John F. Kennedy Presidential Library, and we still have the Apollo 13 capsule there. So very excited to help our nation win the space race with lunar landing and navigating on the moon's surface, leveraging terrain features. The same thing we can do on Earth, we are able to prove that we can do it on the moon. I've personally volunteered with NASA to do it myself on the moon. I think they're not letting me do that, so we'll see. You saw the demo with BAE Systems, so you saw that. Again, there's more information available. I'm also very excited. There's a fantastic collaboration we have underway with Carefort. This is actually a 100-year-plus company out of New Jersey, and I'm showing here is a product that's actually going live in the next few weeks. This has onboard compute, storage, IMU, and our software. And people will be able to buy it and hook it up on ground vehicles, drones, aircrafts, you name it. And so it's an exciting collaboration, and what we are doing is we are fixing the drift problem that exists with these IMU sensors by leveraging an onboard camera. And we've been very grateful and privileged and humbled to have been recognized with a few different groups in the industry to include inside unmanned systems. I talked about Move America, NASA, and others, MIT, et cetera, but Isuzu, very, very excited about Isuzu. So this is a large trucking company headquartered in Japan. They have a large fleet, large presence here in North America. We actually won the AI challenge, and so there's things we are working on, and my hope is every single truck that's sold in the next 2 years will have our software running on it. And we cannot do it without the support and backing of our customers and partners, and so it takes a village to get to where we have been. AFRL, AFWorks, electronic warfare teams, the Army Research Lab, National Security Innovation Network, NGA, FedTech, MIT. I mean, there's just, Draper. I mean, this has just been a great, great collaboration with many, many different people from across America and sometimes even overseas. And we're very excited to take this capability over. And my final slide is this one. Again, I do want to leave plenty of time for questions if we can. We have great expertise on the computer vision side, and we're a small team, but we do believe we have the best computer vision capability out there, which is why I'm here. For us to succeed as a country in future conflicts, we cannot do this alone. I want to get out of the mindset that, hey, one company can solve all the problems. We can't, nor should we. Our friends in Ukraine, they're not really thinking a whole lot about IP or competition or any of that. Why? Because it's life or death. And so whatever it takes, and so my friend Andre, who was blown up, and I met him a few weeks ago, it was very sad, but he talked about the active collaboration that's happening there between the military, within the government, within the private sector, within NATO, and obviously with tremendous amount of support from the United States. But they're moving at the speed of relevance. We need to do the same here, or else we'll be in deep trouble as a country, as a society, and sadly our troops will die. Our missions will fail. And I don't want to look into the eyes of our soldiers, our airmen, our Marines and Guardians, our sailors, why we did not fix this problem when we could. So it's an open invitation. Reach out. If you have a use case in mind, let's collaborate. We would love to work with you to integrate our SDK and API on whatever TAK plugin you're working on or other applications you may have in mind. Thank you, and I'm happy to answer your questions.
Couple questions.
Yes, sir.
So I understand that it's operating, you're not using Wi-Fi, you totally disconnected. So it's your thought that if you're operating in a certain region, you'd download enough of the images from that region? Is that kind of how it works? You do that ahead of time?
That's correct, sir. You would pre-download that ahead of time, and customers can bring their own data sets, classified, commercial, unclassified, whatever. So.
Okay. Do you, any in terms of sizing for that for a city, what would the file size be for that city?
Yeah. So we've done testing in, let's say, Greater Boston, Austin, upstate New York, parts of Wyoming, Jackson Hole, St. Louis, parts of California. I mean, typically, let's say, it's a 50 square kilometer box. If I had to estimate, it's probably around 1 GB worth of data, because we optimize the data sets. We don't need to download the full data sets, and so we have gotten it to a small enough storage where you can bring it on a cellular device. So let's say if I was flying from Boston to San Francisco or driving from Boston to San Francisco, well, I would do mission planning ahead of time, and I would download all the data sets, and maybe you can have an alternative route, right? Because maybe there's an interstate that's closed, and maybe you got to take some detours or whatever. And so it's totally designed to run on the edge as long as you do that pre-mission planning ahead of time, right? In the Army, as we say, doing your PCCs and PCIs, you just do that ahead of time, your pre-combat checks and pre-combat inspections.
Okay. And then you talked about the cheap IMUs and the cameras.
Yes.
I want to be really specific. So, could you use simply the hardware set that is on, say, a S23?
Yes, you can.
Okay, all right, gotcha. And
Absolutely.
Then, so in terms of, I wrote down CONUS or OCONUS. What it's really dependent upon is the data set.
Correct.
The images that you got, right?
Yes.
So, okay. And so, and am I understanding that you already have an ATAK?
Yeah, we actually have built ATAK plugins, and so what I'm interested in is partnering. So it's not just a standalone ATAK plugin, but whatever ATAK plugins already exist. So I'm going to bring back the land example here, right? So this is obviously the dismounted use case, but the goal is you can strap an ATAK on a dash cam, and that's taking the visual features, or you could just have it on a dismounted soldier. And then they're walking around or they're taking snapshots. So we can also do a frame by frame, by the way. You don't have to have a continuous feed. We can just take a snapshot and then we tell you where you are based on that snapshot.
Okay. And then is this on TAK.gov right now? Can we download?
So our plugin actually, so this challenge with TAK has been, our funding ran out on the TAK plugin 2 years ago, and we have not been able to find a customer to advance the TAK plugin. So it's sitting on a shelf. It hasn't been updated. We could probably update it, so that's one of the avenues. If there was funding, we can obviously advance that. We have put in for a few proposals. We are waiting to hear back. But, we have a software ready to go, and you can integrate it, probably within a week, or you can take the existing plugin, and, we'll share all the code that you need to be successful. Either we can do it or you can do it yourself.
Okay, and you said you recently just talked to Air Force Special Warfare?
Yes.
Okay, all right. I'll come talk to you after.
Yes, sir. I cannot share specific, but if you're in the government, then maybe I can.
No, yeah. Well, I'll talk to you.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, sir.
First, long overdue. I'm glad to see somebody's doing it. Right, so that's amazing. Do you have a relationship with SOCOM or with the Navy?
We don't.
Okay. I'll be in touch.
Great.
Thank you.
Hey, Conware. Great presentation.
Thank you so much. You've helped build some of these things, so thank you for that.
And that's why I'm up here. I just want to give you a plug. We have worked with SkyLine in the past. It was incredible. These guys have awesome technology, but their passion matches that. So if anybody, whether industry or government, has the opportunity to work for these guys, or work with these guys, I highly encourage it.
Thank you so much. So kind of you. We've had a fantastic collaboration. Yeah. One of the pieces that I think did not mention, and maybe I can show you this side by side as I bring up. Actually, this is another demo. No, not this one. There's actually another demo I had that I did not share. So we also tested our capability on helicopters, and we thought it would be super easy, but we were surprised. One of the challenges with helicopters is they tend to bank. And so we were off, and we had to fix that Pathfinder to work. So even when it was banking, we actually had to change it. And the other thing I also want to share is, so the camera on a drone, for example, does not have to be just downward facing. It can also be forward facing. And that's also a game changer, right? And this is where we are simulating, islands. And I'll just leave it at that. You're all smart enough to figure out what I'm talking about. But let's say there's GPS jamming going on an island, and our military is lost. Well, we have the capability to see what's in front of us. And this is how we are solving that jamming, let's say in the Pacific. These are a bunch of flight testing we have been doing over the coast of Massachusetts. So if there's folks interested in that, please reach out. We'd love to partner with you.
Do you guys see this as being all on the device, or imagine you've got a bunch of drones that you weren't able to put this on, all you had was the video feed from them? Can you pipe a bunch of video, are you planning or thinking about piping random video feeds into a laptop or a more permanent device where you just don't have the chance to put it on the mobile device?
Absolutely, sir. It's a great question. It's certainly possible. We have not done that because one of the challenges is it's not just GPS jamming, but also RF jamming. And we have the API, by the way, that if you had connectivity on a mesh network, you could all make that happen. But my bias is, hey, let's make this totally disconnected. But what you're saying is totally possible, and it's very achievable as long as you have connectivity between the drones, between the cell phones, between cars, trucks. This is all feasible. We have to create. In fact, there are people who've already reached out to us, and we are collaborating with them, and they provide the mesh network. And as long as you have that mesh network, absolutely. So I could totally envision us flying drones or driving around as you're seeing in these two videos, and there's that collaboration happening between the cars and the drones or trucks, aircraft, whatever, and they're sharing their relative positioning to one another. And as long as we can make that communication happen, this is all possible. And that's why I'm also very excited about this, especially human-machine teaming and swarming and those kinds of things.
Yeah, swarming's where it comes to mind, where you don't want to necessarily put this on 100 drones, but if they can interconnect, if you've got one that can do it, then...
Yeah. Quick trivia question for the people in the room. Do you know how many drones Ukraine and Russia are producing each year right now?
Probably about 10,000.
10,000 a day or a month?
But there's like 2,000 or 3,000 in the air every day. So
Yeah.
It's somewhere between like probably 10,000 to 50,000.
Yeah. Anyone else? Millions, okay. You're right, and you're probably also right if you look at it on a daily basis. I'll have to do the math, but it's around 2 million drones a year, both sides. And a lot of that componentry is coming from China. Guess how many drones we are making in the United States today? With all the components coming in from the United States.
100,000.
That's the right answer. Zero. This is scary stuff. And so we have to talk about swarming. And by the way, the other thing is, if you think about the size of the US military, compare that to PLA, it might be a repeat of what we saw in the Korean War. A lot of people don't want to talk about that. It's going to be very scary, guys. So I think we have to move fast at the speed of relevance to get this in the hands of people, and not just talking about this, but demonstrating this and fielding this capability. And again, I cannot do this alone. We can't do this alone, and I need your help to make this happen. Okay? Any other questions?
So I apologize, I missed the beginning of your meeting. I got engaged in a conversation out there.
Sure.
But the videos I'm seeing are mostly over urban or populated areas.
Mm-hmm.
Have you tried this in areas that are much less populated, where
Yes.
you just have a lot of natural scenery? You know, can your algorithm find enough features, I guess, to do this?
Yes. I cannot share that. I'm so
Okay.
sorry about that.
All right.
We, one of the things we do is when we sign NDAs with people, we mean it. So I have the things that you probably want to see, but I just can't show you. This is exactly what I did with the Air Force Special Warfare Group last week. But I just can't even tell you where I was. I will tell you, I was on a mountain and I was very tan and my wife did not recognize me. Because I was on a mountain for 5 days. My son did not recognize me. He's like, maybe that's because I traveled so much, he barely sees me, which is my fault, but yeah. But my wife is like, what happened to you? I'm like, yeah, I was having fun, I was standing on a mountaintop. Great, any other questions? Well, I'll just thank you once again for the honor. Thank you to Air Force, AFRL for a fantastic collaboration. We can't do this. And again, this has been an all-of-government approach. Being an Army guy, working with ARL, AFRL, Air Force Electronic Warfare, and we are committed to solving this problem, and I need your help to make this happen. So thank you for that. All right.